Thanks for joining us at the weekly tasting, and thank you for trusting me to get you out of your wine rut. This new Discovery Pack is all about introducing you to something new. I'm hoping that you love all of these wines and that you'd introduce them to your friends and show them new discoveries. Our first wine is from the Old World, and that just means that it's part of the EU, or a wine producing region that has been making wine for a long time. In this case, it's France, one of the benchmarks for fine quality wine in Europe. And this wine is coming from the southeast part of France in an area called the Languedoc, which is Mediterranean in climate. So this is a white grape that's indigenous to the southeast part of France and doesn't really grow that many other places in the world. So that's kind of cool. So we have this golden straw or yellow color, and it looks medium plus in intensity of color. So it's almost like you can sense that the wine will be deep and concentrated or richer for a white wine. It's not like a watery white or a gray color. And on the nose, you get that sense of everything that's the color yellow. So I'm thinking about like yellow apples, like yellow pears, yellow flowers. So it's really golden in color. It almost smells like buttercream, although it doesn't seem to be a lot of oak on the nose, which is to say that I don't get any baking spices or vanilla. And then there's like a strong sense of like saline or salty minerality, which is quite lovely with all that yellow ripe fruit. So we really know that we're in the Mediterranean when we're drinking this kind of wine. We can feel that intense sunshine and a little bit of salt air. It just takes us kind of back to the place. When you taste the wine, you think about seafood. Almost like shrimp scampi and like really juicy, fresh fish. And it's intense in flavor, but it doesn't have any oak. So it's about medium plus in body, where you feel like this golden, richer style of white wine, but then it finishes nice and clean and very acidic and salty. This is a perfect wine for seafood, and I can't wait for you to try it. Next up, we're taking a trip to California, and we're going to drink some wine called Petite Sirah. There is nothing petite about Petite Sirah, and it's kind of my little wine dorky, geeky joke again, but Petite Sirah is really, really big, intense, juicy, dark, deep, full-bodied wine. I mean, this is a wine that you introduce or you share with someone that loves big wine. So when you look at the wine, it's deep, dark in color, really almost like inky or black. It has a dark purple center. You can't really read through it. When you take a smell, it feels the same way. It's like deep, black, juicy plum, black licorice, almost like pen ink, you know? Like it smells like pen exploded in your mouth. It has a little bit of like a black rocky mineral. It doesn't have a lot of oaky flavors, but it does smell smoky and intense. And then on the palate, even on the nose, it smells kind of meaty. Like you could imagine like a barbecue with lots of big cuts of beef. And you could imagine that this wine being so juicy but smoky and meaty would really go well with ribeye steak. On the palate, you take a sip and your whole mouth is coated. It's a deep red wine, so intense, juicy, but the tannins are slightly lighter than you would expect for such a big wine, which is why I think a lot of people love it. They want that juicy, warm, like rich red wine when it's cold outside, but maybe they want to just have a glass at the end of the night and not have it with food. Therefore, they don't want it dusty, drying out their mouth. This is a perfect wine to introduce to people that love big wine. So Petite Sirah, nothing petite about it. Next up, we have Jiménez-Landi, which is a wine from Spain, from the region called Méntrida. And this is definitely a new discovery for all of you, I'm sure, because it was a new discovery for me. And this is from an area in Spain, which is like the north central part of Spain. So here we have a really cool wine because it looks really light in body, almost like a light ruby color, kind of like Pinot Noir. And on the nose, it smells so intense and savory. There's not a lot of red wine that smells savory, which is to say, like, it doesn't smell like fruit, but it smells more, let's say, vegetable or vegetal. On the nose here, I get a ton of green bell pepper. And you can imagine it's hard to pair wine with vegetables for that same reason. Generally, we don't have fruit paired with vegetables, but in this case, this is like a great wine if you're doing like a stir-fry vegetarian food, or just something that has a big focus on, you know, pepper or things like that. So almost like the nose of a Cabernet Franc, if you're familiar with that grape. You have a light-bodied wine. It's really refreshing, acidic, tart. The tannins are smooth. The wine has that juicy kind of like red fruit, but it finishes very dry, very like vegetal and herbal, and just a great wine. It's so unique. You're definitely gonna want to try this batch just so you can try this delicious wine. Next up, we have a Chenin Blanc. It's become a really favorite grape of mine for white wine. Somewhat of a new discovery to some people. Normally you see Chenin Blanc from the Loire Valley of France. You can find it in Vouvray or a region called Savennières. In this case though, we're going to the New World. So we're going to a new wine producing region relative to the Old World. And we're trying Chenin Blanc from South Africa, specifically from an area near Cape Town called Stellenbosch. And this is Simonsig. Often in Chenin Blanc, we find a little bit of funk. I know that's a weird word to use to describe wine, but what I mean is it's not as clean and smelling refreshing. Sometimes you get like a little bit in Chenin Blanc, like the smell of if you left your clothes in the washer and you forgot to put them in the dryer, how they have that like wet lanolin or linen quality. You get pineapple, which in this wine, it's really coming through. It's like this exotic, overripe pineapple. And you sometimes get like blue cheese aroma, so something funky, something sweet. Not that the wine is sweet, but that the nose smells sweet, and even a little bit of honey, which I often find in Chenin Blanc. On the palate, we can try it. Wow, it's like the body of a Sauvignon Blanc. It has some of that citrus, lemon and lime and grapefruit, but it's a little bit more like textured. Almost like I was saying, that candle wax or lanolin, or has like a smooth like honey quality, and then yet it's refreshing and pineapple and really fruity on the palate, despite the fact that it finishes kind of like salty and minerally. I think this wine is perfect if you're used to drinking a Sauvignon Blanc. It doesn't have oak, so it's refreshing. It's aged in stainless steel. It's crisp, but it has some fruit, and it's really a crowd pleaser. You could serve this as an aperitif or with some goat cheese or a salad, or before you start your dinner party, just offer it to like refresh people's palate as they walk in your front door. Please let us know which one of these wines is your favorite and all of your thoughts on the weekly tasting. Until next time, thanks and cheers.